Can you tell I am just exhausted? I have had the best week. And so let me tell you all about it. First off, my name is Sally, and this is Sally Stitches and a channel mostly about cross stitch, but I do like to delve into other kind of craft stuff. Basically anything I make or collect or do, I'll talk about on this channel. Today, however, I want to talk to you about my recent trip to Cincinnati, Ohio for StitchCon Weekend A. So today, Sally Stitches and recaps her StitchCon retreat. So first off, today is Friday, June 14th, as I'm filming this. And so as we are speaking right now, Weekend B is underway. It sounds like they're having a lot of fun, and I am just really excited for them because I thought this was just a fantastic retreat experience, and I really enjoyed it a lot, and I hope that I get to do it again sometime. So I hope that they're having just as much fun as I am. So I went down last week on Wednesday, and to go down was a big deal. I have two kids. It's summertime, they're not in school anymore, and so my husband had to take time off of work to watch them on that Thursday and that Friday that I was going to be gone. I live in Michigan, and I'll do my Michigan thing. So Lower Peninsula of Michigan, I live right around here. And so to drive down from where I live in Michigan, it's about a 5-hour drive if you're like a robot that never needs to stop for gas and there's no construction and no bathroom or food breaks. In reality, it took me a little over 6 hours to get there. And that was because on Wednesday, the day I left, the weather was really bad. And so there were a couple incidents where I ended up having to slow down to 35 miles per hour on an interstate because the rain was just coming down so hard. I had no visibility. It was pretty white knuckle, and I was glad that I made it. But you know what? I feel a lot better about it because the thing that made me the most nervous about going to StitchCon was the drive. I live in a small city. I'm not used to big city driving, and driving alone that far is kind of like, ooh, this is how a lot of horror movies start. So I'm glad that I made it. And now that I know that I can do it, I would be okay doing it again. I had an audiobook that I really enjoyed, and once the weather cleared up, it was fun. And I saw a lot of really cool things, as I made my way through Ohio. So I actually felt a little fortunate too, because I had to wait on that Wednesday for my husband to get out of work before I could leave. And he was expected to work a full day of work. So I was planning to leave about 5 and then just get there at 11. But I didn't have to wait that long because he got out of work early and he brought his laptop and he took a meeting at home, so I could leave at 2. And that was awesome. So I ended up getting to the Sharonville, Cincinnati area around 8:30 and checking into my hotel. Once I got checked in and settled in my room, I decided that I wanted to spend some time in the lobby to see if maybe I ran into some people I know. And when I got there, there was a small group of people that were, part of the StitchCon convention. People I had not met, but I do know that one of them was Michelle from the Flosstube channel, made by Michelle McGraw. And so that's always kind of fun. You do a little double take and you're like, are you someone I know? Because she's someone I've been subscribed to for a while, and, we shared a couple friendly words, but I didn't want to break up our group. And so I ended up sitting in an armchair that was kind of adjacent, and I had brought my knitting with me, not the big cardigan that I've showed you in previous videos, but I started a brand new project specifically for this retreat, just because I was worried about carrying all those different yarn balls to get and losing one and then ruining my whole sweater plan. And so I started a sock, and I'll show it to you in a little bit. So while I was there, I wasn't there for more than 10-20 minutes before I felt a little tap on my shoulder, and I turned around, and it was my friends Tammy Blaylock and Zan, the Crazy Band Lady Stitches. Tammy Blaylock is Creative Country Girl. She is a very talented bag maker, and Zan is someone that I've bumped into with several retreats, and she's someone I'm very friendly with. I really like Zan a lot. Everyone I know loves Zan. And so that was really nice for me. We ended up sitting in the lobby and just, you know, kind of talking and chit-chatting probably until about 10:30, at which point I was incredibly tired. It was a long day. I also did like occupational therapy with my son, and his appointment's at like 7:30 in the morning. So I'd been up since like 5:30 because I was so excited. So I went to bed and I texted my friend that I was going to sit with tomorrow, you know, and we kind of made arrangements for meeting up in the line. Let me tell you a little bit about the registration line next. So the registration line opened early, and then actually people would start getting to move into the stitching room at 10 a.m. And so about a week or two ahead of time, I had organized, you know, like a little group. Actually, I didn't organize, but I was participating in a group chat because there were 6 of us that were all planning to sit together at StitchCon. So how it works is when someone gets into the stitching room, they can claim a table. And then if they have people that are, you know, prearranged to sit with them, you know, you can go ahead and claim the whole table. They did this thing that made it really easy. They had these little flags that said join us on all of the tables, and then when the table was full, you just pull the flag and you put it down, and then other people from the other side of the room don't think, oh, that seat's empty. There is a seat for everybody at StitchCon, you know, and you don't have to prearrange where you're going to sit, but we had chosen to do it because we wanted to, you know, get to know each other. And so my friend Jen and I were planning to meet about 8 a.m. to get into the line because the line was going to start at 10, and that way we could get a good table, because Jen wanted to make sure that we got a table that was kind of along one of the edges of the rooms, because that way, you know, people aren't like trying to like wiggle woggle through these tables and bumping you while you're trying to stitch, you know, because there's at least one side that's like open. And so that was our plan. So I was so excited, however, though, that I ended up waking up on the morning of StitchCon at 6 in the morning, getting my shower, brushing my teeth, doing all that stuff, going downstairs, looking at the continental breakfast, kind of picking away at it, nibbling at it, because I was like too excited to go. I had my stitching bag with me. There wasn't really anyone in the breakfast room, you know, to like sit and stitch with. There was no one in the lobby. And so I decided I'm just gonna go ahead and go to the convention center. I didn't stay at the convention center. I stayed at an adjacent hotel, but it was walkable and it was nice out. It was actually kind of warm. You know, it was probably like 80 already at this point, and it was muggy. So I was really glad when I walked up to the convention center doors and opened it that it was very nicely air conditioned. But I was surprised because there were like 30 people there already at like 7:30 in the morning. So I was like, I'm gonna go ahead and get in line. And then when Jen comes, we can, you know, figure it out. So I got in line, and then all of a sudden I heard, hey, Sally. And I looked, and it was my friend Sarah from Sarah's Stitchery here on Flosstube. And she and I have like the same alphabet category for our last names. And so I happened to be standing right behind her in line. And we stood there with Jessie Marie from Jess Marie Does Stuff, and then a woman named Allison, another woman named Cindy, and we were there, and we were like, well, we got 2.5 hours. Some people had brought camp chairs and were sitting in like folding camp chairs, and I thought that is a good idea. I would have paid someone like $50 for a camp chair in that moment, because it's just like, you know, concrete floor, nowhere to sit. We ended up actually sitting on the floor. I had the post that was like the name dividing post for the 2 lines right behind me, so I was using that like as back support, but we were like moving around, stretching our legs out, kind of taking turns, because that was a long wait. I had my knitting again, because that's a good like stand in line project. I can't really cross stitch and knit at the same time, or cross stitch and stand at the same time. And we went there and we just kind of chit-chatted, and that 2.5 hours went really fast. Jen came, you know, at our prearranged time, and she saw where I was in line, and she said, nope, don't move. I'll get in line and I'll catch up with you. And then we could kind of text back and forth. And she said, try to get a table by the podium if it's possible. And I said, yeah, that's a good idea. And so finally at 10, the line opened. And once it opened, it went really fast. You went down, you told them your name, they gave you an envelope with some information, and then a bag, and I'll show you this bag. It's really cool. Got to get this cat hair. I can tell my cat sat on this bag. But isn't that nice? So this is like a canvas, like swishy fabric bag. And it's got the StitchCon logo. That's a little trademark bloop right there. But it's got these zipper pockets. It has this band so you can put it over like a rolling bag. And then there's dividing pockets on the inside. It's a really nice bag. So Inside the bag, we had an issue of Just Cross Stitch magazine, and then we had this little charm. This is like a bag charm. Isn't that cute? Oh, can you focus? Focus on it. It says StitchCon 2024 on it, and this house is the Keepsakes shop. And then when we got to our tables, at every spot at the table was this glass jar, and it has Ohio on the top, and I've put some wax in here. This is a dangerous thing for me to have as a Michigan person. I'm just kidding. No one will know. But anyway, so I got into the room, and not 5 minutes later, Jen showed up. And then finally, the other 4 members of our, kind of prearranged table showed up. I ended up sitting with Jen, Jen Naska, who is, she used to have a Flosstube channel, but she no longer does it. And then she had some other people that she knew that I got to meet. So sitting on one side of me was Jen. And then on the other side was a woman named Lisa, who is a fantastic, fantastic stitcher. She does have a YouTube channel. It is Lady Huzzah, and I'll link it down below. But she was stitching, and she's just a beautiful finisher too. She showed me some of the things she'd finished, and I was really impressed. She had a friend named Stacy who sat next to her, and Stacy also is a fantastic finisher. And Stacy had brought from a display thing for the brag table this teeny tiny sampler she'd made that was adorable. It was like a postage stamp, and it was so intricate and detailed. So next to Stacy sat Carrie, who is Tiger Lily Designs, and she's a very talented bag maker and very, very fun person. I really enjoyed meeting her. I'd heard of her, and it was nice to put a face to the name, which was cool. And then Carrie's friend, Shelly, who is the antique needleworker here on Flosstube, rounded out the table. So it was me, Jen, Shelly, Carrie, Stacy, Lisa, if you're going around the other way. And they were all really, really lovely people. I was so glad that I got to meet them. We sat at a table that was pretty close to the podium, as Jen had wanted. And yeah, it was just really a nice time. I learned so much. They are next level stitchers, as far as the projects they choose, things that, they are working on, the finishes they do. A lot of them participate in the smalls exchange. I did not participate, and I am very glad I did not, because those were I don't know, they were beautiful smalls exchange pieces. I kind of feel like if I worked that hard on stitching and finishing something, that I would want to keep it forever. I wouldn't want to exchange it with someone else. And so kudos to everyone who did the smalls exchange. I think that's really cool. So anyway, we all pretty much got settled in by, I want to say, about 11. And then it was just kind of fun, just enjoying the atmosphere. A lot of other people were kind of coming in. The table that was right next to us had a couple other Flosstubers that I knew by reputation but had not met in person. One of the first people I met was Marjorie from Marjorie Made. And she was so nice. She's like, "I like your hair." And I was like, "I like your hair." And so we bonded over that little hair moment. And then she was sitting with Cam from Cam the Stitcher, and in the the museum stitcher was there, and then Elizabeth from Frizzy Lizzie Stitches, and then there were other people there too. And it was kind of fun to kind of have that, people that were on that side. And then on the other side of me, we had my friends Zan and Tammy were sitting very close, kind of kitty corner. And, it was I really knew a lot more people than I thought I would. And that was cool, because this is only the 4th retreat I've ever gone to. And it's amazing how small this cross stitch world is, that you can run into the same people, because we all like to go to these retreats. And so it was really nice. Once we got going, I did a lot of stitching. I did some shopping. One of the rooms that was very close to the stitching room was a room that was called the Annex. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that. I took some film of it, but it was basically a trunk show. There were, I believe, 47 different vendors there. And so they had that open on the first day for previews, and then they started selling things the following day. And the whole weekend it was line out the door. which made me so happy because it was like so successful. They also had an old-fashioned school bus that was painted red, and it's called the Stitchy Bus, and that was something that was acting kind of like a shuttle between the convention center and then Keepsakes, the little house that was only probably about 3 or 4 miles away from the convention center. And boy, this is an interesting area, Sharonville, Ohio. So I would say that our area, you know, is very convention centery. There was like, you know, a lot of hotels in this area. There was a giant public school, like maybe 2 or 3 buildings down. And then like I-75 is like right there. And then you go on the other side of I-75 and there's a little more hotel stuff. And then it gets like really industrial for a bit. And then it gets very charming. On the other side of the industrial stuff is like a cute little like old-fashioned downtown time, you know, and they had some really delicious restaurants. There was also another like historic village where we ate dinner the first night. And so it was just really interesting to see all the different mixes of like historic areas and convention center areas and, you know, like all the other stuff in between. So as someone who comes from like a town that is pretty much like everything is about the same age, because it was like all like booming in the 60s and the 70s, it was really interesting to see buildings that are older than, you know, the oldest buildings in my town. And so it was really cool. I'm gonna take a break right here and I'm gonna get some footage of some of the stuff that I did in StitchCon right here. So this room is the Annex, and this is something that has been set up, you know, as like a little shopping event. And so once I get in here, there's gonna be some fun stuff to look at. This, by the way, is the Keepsakes cat. I don't know if it's a boy or a girl cat, but I do know the cat's name is 310, which is the floss color number for black, if you're not like a DMC user. This one drew my eye from the door. Isn't it beautiful? Look at those apples. They're so shiny. It's a lot of stitches. These are by the Artsy Housewife. Oh, I like that one too. Oh, decisions. So they call this a brag table, but it is like a brag half of the room because there are so many beautiful pieces of stitch work. Wow, look at that one. I like this one. It really inspires me to look for new pattern designers and just really like, you know, just try something new. So many different ways you can stitch. Wow, that one's tall. So I think I'm gonna film this whole table. I might put some music on for a little like ASMR, I guess. But you gotta see, oh hey, this is the same as that one that we just saw, but it's in multiple colors. That's cool. Look at those tiny stitches. Pirate cat. Someone's family stockings. People are so talented. A lot of these folded pieces are pieces that people finished like while they were here. Anytime someone finishes a piece, they are encouraged to go up to the podium, and there's a bell on the podium, and then they ring the bell, and then everyone stops and they look up. There's that piece again. They look and they clap and they get to see the person's piece. And that is one of my favorite things about stitching in a big group, is seeing the expressions on their faces because they are so excited that they finished a piece. That is how I feel too. Anyway, enough talking. Here's the one brag table sign, but we've already looked at a lot of table, right? So, okay, now I'm gonna stop talking and why don't you just look at the stitching. Here's the podium. There's the bell. one of the biggest cross-stitch pieces I've ever seen. Isn't it spectacular? And then it's next to one of the teeniest. I like the juxtaposition. This is probably, I think, one of my favorite pieces. I'm gonna have to figure out what this is. Well, it's on the card, but sorry. So I've been staring at this one because I thought it was like Anya Taylor-Joy from like the Queen's Gambit, but it's not. It's Taylor Swift. Wrong Taylor. This is that same piece as that really giant one I showed you. Oh, and this one was actually, this was Sarah's. Sarah Reed's piece. Oh, so pretty. It's nice to see it in person. That one's cute. And the table continues. Ooh, this one won an award. Well deserved. It's spectacular. I know the stitcher who made this, and I actually saw her stitch it like at Stitch Away like over a year ago, and so it's really cool to see it stitched. It's really big. Look at that. Here are Huckleberry Farms. This one was my friend Sarah's, and this is my friend Allie's. These are some stitch-alongs by Witchy Stitcher. I think they look fun. That was a supernatural one, and then here's a cryptid one. I like the contrast with the black. A super gorgeous full coverage piece. Look at how tiny those stitches are. Gosh, that's a masterpiece. I don't think I will ever finish my full coverage piece, but that's okay. It's kind of one of those, like, I'm enjoying the process pieces. I really like the embellishments on these. These are all done by the same stitcher. This is Jessie Marie Does Stuff here in Flosstube. She's talented and she's very nice. It's really been fun to meet people while I've been here. I haven't been taking a lot of photos or videos because I've been having too much fun chitty-chatty stitching. I made little stickers. I took a photograph of like a shot of my floss bobbin box. Ooh, I like the red on this one. And I made it into a sticker, but I didn't save any for myself, and I gave them all away. I think I took a photo though. I'll try to insert it. So anyway, look at all that stitching. Thanks for walking along with me. So let's talk a little bit more about getting to know people at StitchCon. And one thing that if I ever get a chance to go to another StitchCon, and I am going to try, I know signups can be kind of like luck of the draw because a lot of people want to go. But one thing that I would like to do next time I go to StitchCon, because I'm being optimistic, is I would like to make gifts for my table mates. This is not something I did. I did bring a small thing to pass out to everybody, but I didn't make special gifts for my table, and I received special gifts from my table friends. And boy, I was really really blown away and kind of felt bad that I didn't make anything. It is not a requirement by any means. People give things because they want to be friendly and because they're generous and kind, you know, and lovely people. Hi, Audrey. How are you doing? Audrey missed me while I was gone. I missed her too. So please don't knock my camera over. Oh, goodness. Okay, we're going to get down, okay? Thanks. Okay, sorry about that. So I ended up, you know, receiving these lovely gifts, and I want to tell you a little bit about them. This isn't everything I received, but these are things that just absolutely blew me away. And then there's more I'm thinking about that I should go, you know, get from all the places that, you know, I've put them all away, but I'll tell you a little bit. So first off, Carrie and Shelly, who were both my table mates, both made project bags. And let me show you Carrie's first. Isn't this beautiful? So Carrie made these out of vintage tea towels, I believe. And then these fabrics are very like vintage looking. I can't tell if they're true vintage or not, but it's really beautiful. Carrie came in one day and she was wearing a blouse that was made out of tea towels that she had patchworked together. I think that's so creative. I never thought to do that, to purchase vintage fabrics and make new things. Because a lot of times when I buy vintage stuff for my collection, I'm like, no, you gotta preserve it like as it was. But I think for stuff that is like maybe like end of life because it's wearing out, you could totally cut it up and make something. Shelly did the same thing. Look at this. Isn't that beautiful? So someone must have made this and quilted this. This is all hand quilting. And it maybe was like a table runner because of the way it's like folded in half on the bottom. But she made this beautiful, beautiful bag. And I am so impressed. The inside of the bag actually had stuff in it. It had like a hoop and a little bag with like scissors and other notions in it. And it was all tied because this has a little tie here. So you could tie your hoop there to keep it still. And it's a good size. I really like it. It's got a magnet closure. I love project bags, and this and Carrie's bag are both really special because they are, you know, just like handmade and vintage at the same time, which, you know, I appreciate because I love vintage stuff. Another thing that I received that is also vintage was something that Shelly bought when she and Carrie and actually Zan, who was at our kitty corner table, went with them. They all went to the antique store and they came back and they're like, we went shopping for you guys. And I was like, oh no, I can't believe it. You guys are too kind. So they brought gifts for everyone at the table. And this is what Shelly brought for me. Isn't this cool? So can you see the elephant on this? It says Jumbo. And look at the lid. So this is a gigantic jumbo peanut butter, salted peanut butter vintage jar. I'm putting it next to my head on my shoulder so you can see how big this is. This is much bigger than like a peanut butter jar I have here. And it really meant a lot to me that Shelly brought this from the antique store for me. The reason she did that is because we had some really nice conversations. We went to 3 meals together. We had dinner the first night at this restaurant called Meritage. It was delicious. I never get to go out to restaurants, and when I do, it's like chain restaurants because we don't have a lot of like little mom and pops where I live. And you know, I was talking a little bit about my vintage collections, including like my vintage like honey whip jars, and how you could just go to the grocery store and you could get these really cool things and then keep them and reuse them. And so she said she saw this in the first row at the antique store, and now it's mine. And I just think that's really cool. My friend Jen also had lovely table gifts, and a lot of the table gifts were like notions. Like she had a little floss pack with a lot of different reds, kind of like Ohio reds, like Buckeye Scarlet and Cherry Cobbler, and all these beautiful like, you know, reds all together from Classic Colorworks and from Gentle Art. She also had put in some Lady Dot Creates rickrack in a scarlet red that I already know what I'm going to use it for because I have something that I just finished that I need some red trim. And then she gave me one of these. Isn't this cool? This is a vintage like spool or spindle. It's got a hole on it. I think that I could use this for some sort of cool cross stitch finish, especially if I do like a micro finish, like the really, really cool things that Stacy made that she showed us. Stacy had made that one thing for the brag table that was like, I want to say it was only like 1 inch by 2 inches. It's probably like done on 46 count fabric, like over 1 or something like that. But she'd also made Lisa a beautiful scissor fob that was like the teeny tiniest little, like, it was like a square or rectangle shape, and it had a cross stitch image of like a little tomato pincushion, and it was tiny, like with a little strawberry on it. I just was admiring it. I wish I'd gotten a photograph of it because it's just fantastic work. So Stacy, by the way, brought me like, she got like a 6-pack of oil bottles. I'll see if I can put a picture on it, because we looked these up on Google Lens while we were sitting there to try to figure out what these were. She thought they were new, but they were at the antique store. I think they were probably new old stock oil bottles. And what she had done is she had filled each of them with like the crushed walnut shell that a lot of people use for finishing cross stitch pieces. Sometimes it's called lizard litter because you can get it from pet stores. And this is good because I have a big old bag of lizard litter, you know, that I got from the pet store. And I was just thinking to myself, I need to get some sort of hard plastic container because it's gonna be a mess if this bag ever ruptures. The cool thing about this bottle is because it was made for like old-fashioned oil, like filling cars, is it has a very long spout that has a tapered top, and so it would be very, very useful for stuffing a pillow because it's lightweight, and you can put that spout in the hole where, you know, you're gonna fill it with the stuff. And so Stacy, thank you so much. When I got it, the very first thing I did was put it down in Craft Dungeon so that my child and my cat would not claim it for their own, because I know a little boy who would absolutely love to play with crushed walnut shell, you know, if he got his hands on it. And so that was, you know, really, really special. Tammy gave me a lovely present, you know, including like a little heartstring samplery bobbin and some notions and some of that wax that was in that jar. And then my friend Zan gave me something really special. And I got it right here. I'll show it to you. Isn't this cute? So this is a vintage, like, jadeite or milk glass salt cellar. So like, put a little salt in here, and she's put a little pom-pom on the top, and then I have put all these decorative pins, and all of these decorative pins are gifts from other StitchCon people who came by. A lot of times they would come by with like a little business card and then be like one of these decorative pins stuck in here. Some of these are handmade, like I'm sure someone made this clay bead. This one is funny because this is a sewing needle with a dangle, and at the very end of the dangle is a frog, because this is a frogger. So if you have to pick your stitches out, you can use this to pick, 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 pick. Or if you're frog, ribbit, ribbit, rip it, rip it. So anyway, Zan is someone that I've been friends with since my first retreat in 2022. She's a really lovely person. We're friends on Facebook, you know, so it's like we're friends outside of stitching too, which is nice. And we've had some really lovely conversations, even though we live many states away from each other. And so it was really thoughtful of her to think of me. I know she brought that specifically, you know, because she knew I liked vintage stuff. And I'm just so grateful for everyone's friendship and overwhelmed by everyone's generosity. So I ended up leaving my home with, you know, 2 bags. I brought my bag that had my luggage, like my clothing, and then I brought my bag that had the stitching stuff I was going to use. And then I got this black bag from StitchCon, and I filled it with stuff. Swag, I guess you could call it, but there were all sorts of really cool gifts. In fact, when I was putting them away, I laid them all out on a table, and I kind of sorted them out by category. And so now is probably a good time to show you right here. Okay, so I've made a mess of my table, but I just wanted to show you, you know, some of the rough categories of things that I received at StitchCon. I've already put some of the food in the kitchen, but there's more food. I met Abby, Top Knot Stitcher. She gave me one of these glasses, lens things, in exchange for the sticker I gave her, and I love it because that'll be very useful. My friend my friend Joe, who I didn't get to go have graders with, you know, we were just having too much fun. He gave me this pouch, and I love it. There was a new vendor called Millennial Fabrics, who gave everyone a little sample piece of Ada fabric, and I chose this color. She had multiple colors to choose from, and that was really nice. I got an Allison coaster. She makes these every retreat, and I am like really excited. I'm gonna have like a whole set at some point. This is really cool. This is a thread bed, and I accidentally ended up with 2 of them because she gave me one when I went to her table to do the sticker exchange, but then she had a second one, like, because she went around and passed them out. But this is from Gina Williams from Virginia, and I really love it. Thank you. This is the needle keep I got from Zan that's made out of the vintage glass salt cellar, and I have all manner of pins from lots of different people. A lot of people like to use pins for decorating. This one right here is very funny because this is a frogging needle. So if you ever have mistakes and you need to pick your stitches out, you can use this. And then if you need to brush your work off, you can use one of these fancy spoolies to kind of get all those little linty pieces off. My Tablemate Stacy gave this. There was candy in here, but I have eaten this. But this is a pickup stick. Did you ever play pickup sticks as a kid? This is something that you can use like if you're stuffing tight corners when you're making like a pillow finish. And also it was just very cool. So I have so many business cards from people. A lot of these were attached to little gifts, and all of the cards are right here. And I will keep them in my stationery drawer. And maybe I need to start a stitchy album because these are so cute and pretty and I want to keep them. So I got all sorts of tools besides the spoolies. I got some needle threaders, some nail files, emery boards, scissors. There's a seam ripper, a tape measure, which I'm going to put straight in my knitting bag because this will be helpful for sock knitting. Oops, this is the lid for that. Bloop. Floss and floss rings. You know, I've got the floss Zan gave me. Someone gave me some mystery color and cotton. There's the Tammy floss, and then my friend Jen gave me this. She actually gave me a whole beautiful table gift bag, but it's a bunch of like different Ohio reds on a red floss ring. Isn't that cool? This was part of that gift too. It's some Lady Dot Creates trim in a beautiful red color. I will definitely use this on a project later. So thanks, Jen. Someone made a floss ring on a ruler. Super handy. Another pretty one. This was from Annie, the Proper Stitcher. Isn't it beautiful? There's actually 2 rings here, but I'll keep them together for now. And then look at this one. This actually came in the StitchCon bag. All 3 of these things came. This is a bag charm, and then a notebook and pen. And then everyone got an issue of Just Cross Stitch magazine. And I definitely already have found a project in here I want to work on. Oh, and this was at our table when we got here. It's an Ohio jar. I've stuck some pom-poms in here, which my friend Jen gave me. But that's good pom-pom storage. Jen also gave me this really cool spool. I'm going to have to use this in a finish somehow. What else? Oh, pins and charms and buttons and cute little button things. Here's a pen. This is from Pumpkin Creek Primitives. I sat close to her at the late night stitching room, and that was a lot of fun. All the floss cards I'll need for the rest of my life, but in so many cool patterns. So we got floss cards and we got business cards, and I think I'm gonna have to maybe make an album because they're so pretty. I love them. This was in the bag that Shelly gave me, and it's really cool. This is a cool one for like a finish. So start browsing oval patterns, stat. I got a lot of needle minders. This one was really cute from Christy at on Pine Barren. And look, it's a chicken. Thank you so much, Christy. You were the first person I said hi to when we got into the stitching room, and you just made such a sweet impression on me. I'm really glad that we got to meet. These are all scissor fobs in every color of the rainbow. I will never have an unbedazzled scissor fob again, or scissor again. Actually, I got 2 of these. These are from the same stitcher. I told her that my daughter really likes bright colors and like dark kind of gothic colors. And so she gave me one for me and one for Katie, which was really cool. And look at this one, isn't it special? Sometimes you forget you're awesome. So this is your reminder. Thank you, I do forget that sometimes. Here are some stickers, the Pyrex stickers. Oh, I don't want to lose you, little froggy. Here's a sticker from Scissor. Elizabeth Ann Can Stitch. Frizzy Lizzie. Our tables were really close and it was really fun. The Museum Stitcher. And then this is my sticker. I had one left. Sally Stitches and made a sticker for you. Needle minders, they're all stuck together, but they're really cute. Here's a cute little acorn one, and it's stuck to an anchor one. This one's cool. This was from a lady named Caroline who had cool glasses. She made this, and it's a threader and a needle minder all in one, which is very cool. And then this last little pile is lots of different pretty thread waxes in bee themes. So do you know what I might do? I might put these inside my peanut butter jar that I posted earlier. Okay, organizing is half of the fun. And so what I've done is I've consolidated a lot of my trims and finishing things. And I've made a little bucket. Hey, Nathan. Made a little bucket right here that I can put all of the floss drops and all of the business cards until I figure out an album situation. A lot of the keepsakes go in my drawer. So I've got my scissors and a whole little area for some of the waxes and some of the scissor fobs and all the little special charms. It's kind of fun. It's my secret little things drawer. So I know you're probably thinking, so with all that shopping and visiting other people and going out to eat at restaurants, did you actually get any stitching in? And yeah, I got a lot of stitching in. You might recall that I brought 4 projects total. I brought 2 brand new start projects and then 2 whips. And one was a whip that I chose because I wanted to bring it, and the other was a whip that I spun the wheel, my whip wheel, to decide. And I worked really solidly on 3 of the 4. And the 4th one is, you guessed it, the one that I used the whip wheel to try. But I did work a little bit on it. There was a hanging thread on it that I finished. And then I realized I had made a counting error, but then I kind of reconciled in my head, oh, okay, I'll just, wing it. And so I'm ready to finish that too. I just, it wasn't something I focused on. Let me show you what I did. So here's the new start one that I did. And this is Summer Folk by Hands On Design. And I got about that much done. This is stuff I've stitched since I've gotten home, but isn't that cool? So this is a band sampler, just kind of like the other ones. You can see that I'm probably about halfway. There's some specialty stitches. I just moved the hoop just because I wanted to show you the whole thing, but that's the first one. So I worked on this one for probably most of that Friday, that first full stitching day. And then at nighttime, I decided I want to try another project. And so I ended up starting my second brand new start project. And that's it right here. So this is Skipjack Sampler. And I just started in the top corner because I have a gigantic piece of fabric. It's all wrinkly because I stuffed it into a bag. But this is probably only going to take about, a third of this fabric. So this is like the start of the sampler stuff, and I've got this like little quilty block done. And then this is the start of the skipjack boat. Let me see if I have the pattern leaflets. I can show you what the whole thing looks like. Here it is. Whoops, Daisy. There it is. So I'm really enjoying it. I'm using the forbidden fiber threads that are called for. And then the fabric I'm using on this is from my Fiberlicious Club of the Month. It's called Magnolia Magic, and it's a 28 count. So those were my 2 new starts. The piece, however, that I worked the most on during StitchCon was my old whip. And I am really happy with the progress that I made. So this is what I worked on the most. This is Night Walked Down, and that's what I added to it. So you might recall that the last time I showed you this, I had basically like the lady. I ended up finishing the bottom border all the way to like the little corner thing. And then I started working on these floral vines, and it was a lot of fun. This was a great project to work on. Boy, I wish that I could take better like lighting pictures, because my friend Stacy told me, I posted this on my Instagram earlier this week, and she's like, wow, the color of this fabric is way prettier than in real life. And I agree. It's like a deep, I would almost say like an absinthe green, you know, if you're like into steampunk or Victorian stuff. I did that on purpose because I thought that the pattern is very like Art Nouveau, and also because it's supposed to be nighttime. So I kind of think, you know, it's nighttime, and you know, it's dark and it's kind of murky, and her skirt coordinates with it because she's from the night, because she is night, walking down with the moon on her hand, in her hand. So anyway, it really inspired me to work on this. I have brought this project to like 2 retreats in a row. I purchased this project at a retreat, and I think that I am going to work on this as a focus piece and finish it up sometime soon. And then just because I've got it here, I'll show you my sad little neglected piece. This is We Santa to 2023. So here's the leaflet. There's a Santa, and I didn't really make a lot of progress. This is what I have. So I fixed this. So you'll notice that like this little space is only 2 stitches, and then these other 3 stitches, and it's 3 stitches on that side. And that's because I accidentally like skipped a line. So this jacket is going to be like 1 row shorter, unless I just add a line on each side so that he doesn't have like spindly legs. I haven't decided what I'm going to do yet. I am finding this one hard to kind of keep my interest, and I think that it's a combination of it's hot out and I'm not really feeling like Christmas or winter stuff right now, but also I was challenging myself on that project by stitching it in hand instead of stitching it in a hoop. And that's because the person that, you know, introduced me to this project, who is Sarah from Sarah Stitchery, and actually Jen, that was from their old channel, like she tends to stitch in hand, and I thought, oh, I'll try it out. I have tried it out. I am not as fast as I am when I stitch in a hoop, but I like that like I'm not having big hoop bumps all over my project. So, you know, there's a lot of different ways to stitch, and I'm glad that I'm trying something different. So those were my projects that I worked on during the stitch thing, and those I think are going to be projects I work on, you know, for the time being. I really want to finish Summer Folk so that I can get that displayed, especially after 4th of July, when I'll take all my patriotic stuff down. And I just, I started 2 new ones. I kind of want to get the number of whips I have down. But I bought some stuff at StitchCon. I'm not gonna lie, I splurged, and I actually made a little film. I am very proud of myself because I used my new organization system, and I you know, put everything away. All the fabric is away. Yeah, I bought fabric. I said I wasn't going to. I made a shopping list ahead of time, and I did not use the shopping list. But you know what? I discovered a new to me fabric, which is cool because it's really nice to be able to see fabric in person. And I saw a lot of really cool designs, both things that other people were stitching that I kind of want to stitch, and then just the samples that I saw in the Annex. So let me show you what I got right here. Okay, so I was going to try to film from this angle, but I've got an Audrey. Hi. So this might not work out. Okay, let's try this out. So I have with me a very precarious pile of things that I brought home from StitchCon that I purchased. Now I would say that I shopped at StitchCon 2 1/2 times. That's because there were a couple different ways you could shop. The first way to shop is to use the Annex. First thing I got is this needle minder from Colleen, the Rebel Stitcher. I really like this because it is a video game, like a Game Boy, and I had one of these, and this was like my car trip, like entertainment thing for like many a childhood camping trip. And so I got this, and I really like it. So that's all I can say about that, I guess. So I don't know, I'm like still really overwhelmed and tired from the trip. Now this was available at the Annex, but I didn't actually purchase this. My friend Zan purchased this, and then she had second thoughts, I think, about the color, and so she offered it for sale in the StitchCon group, and I bought it because I like it a lot. So this is a little wooden box that is handcrafted by this company right here, Cabramary Woods in Wisconsin, and these are made for a series of designs by Jeanette Douglas. There's one that's called like bird box. There's a mermaid box. I haven't decided which one I'll stitch, but basically you fill this with like a bigger cross stitch piece. And then there are like 3 little like pin cushion cute things that go in this box. I'm really leaning toward the mermaid one, but I have stitched a lot of nautical stuff in a short amount of time. And I think I'm just on a nautical like era, I guess. So I haven't decided. I'm gonna go onto her website and look at all the patterns that will fit this box. Speaking of patterns, I bought a couple patterns from some of my favorite designers. The first one I bought is this one by the Blue Flower. It's called Bees in the Greenhouse. And I believe that this exact sample that's in this photograph was the one that was at the Annex. I just think this shape looks really fun. I really enjoy Blue Flower patterns. The pattern I stitched on most during the retreat was Night Walked Down by the Blue Flower. And I think that when that is finished, this would be a really fun thing to do. I'm really enjoying dimensional stitches, like finishes that aren't just flat, like against a wall. And this would be just, you know, something satisfying, I think. The finished size on the model was, I'd say, like bigger than a softball, maybe a grapefruit. Hard to say. The next design I got was Blooming Tiny Town by Hands On Design. And the first thing I did when I got home was I looked at my pattern folio and made sure I didn't already have this one, because this is not a new release, but I was having a hard time remembering which Tiny Town patterns I have and which ones I don't. And I'm really lucky because I didn't have this one. So, you know, the irony is I did bring a list with me for things that I was looking for, and I should have put these on there because I'm enjoying stitching these. I've stitched Seaside Tiny Town and Big Hearted Tiny Town, the Valentine's Day one, and they weren't on my list. I got absolutely nothing that was on my list though. You know, I was thinking that keepsakes would be arranged more like, you know, other LNSs I've been to where they're kind of like organized by designer, and that is not the case. And so I'll tell you a bit more about that in a minute. Yeah! Nathan noises. The next pattern I got is this one. This is called 324. It's by Works by ABC. And the reason I got this is because I saw someone else stitching this and I thought it looked fantastic. It's hard to see on here, but there's a lot of different motifs. I don't know if there are any that are alike or if they're all different. And then there's little squares. The reason this is called 324 is because I think it's designed to use 324 colors of DMC floss, although there is a 32 color conversion if you don't want to use all of them. I thought that this would be really fun for a daily cross stitch project. Like just do like maybe one motif and one color a day for 324 days. You could get that done in a year with like a whole month and a half to spare, which would be nice. You know, it's, I like to try to stitch every day, but then there are days that I miss stitching and then I feel like I've got to catch up. But with this, I think it could be like a most of year stitch along for myself. So, and then the last 3 patterns I got from the Annex were all by the same designer. And this is a designer who is new to me, and that is the Artsy Housewife. And I thought her sample display was fantastic. She had samples of all these patterns. They were just beautiful. I really like her design aesthetic. It kind of reminds me of old, like vintage prints. And the colors she uses are very different than the colors that I've, you know, stitched with. And so the first one I got was this one. This is called Vicious. And I got it because I think that my cat Audrey is sometimes vicious. And so I think what I might do is I might do a floss conversion to make this cat look a little bit more like Audrey, because I think that would be very funny. It is true. She is pretty vicious. The next one I got was Abalonia's Apple Tree. And the sample on this was what drew me into the Annex. It was right in the corner by the door, and it was the first thing I saw. and it was stunning. It was stitched on like a beautiful like apple green fabric, and so those red apples were contrasting. I really liked the gloss and just the shape of it and kind of the expression on the fox's face. Give you a closer look of the sample. This is a big piece. It looked like it was finished, you know, at about 14 inches square. That's a lot of stitches, but I think it's really pretty. And then this last one was my favorite pattern I saw the whole trip. This one is called Coffee and Eggs, and I just think it's really funny. Nathan's getting my attention, so I'll tell you why in a second. Okay, he's situated. So let's talk about Coffee and Eggs. First off, look at this lady. She has the coolest skirt, and I'm a big fan of cool skirts. And she is holding those eggs like how I feel when I have eggs for breakfast. And I basically am so hungry, and I say to myself, eggs! That's basically her whole attitude. She even has a rainbow above her. I think this lady might be me. I don't drink coffee, but I think I'll still stitch this. I think that there are really cute motifs, and I would include the coffee even though it's not like for me, just because I love this lady so much. In fact, I liked this pattern so much that I thought that this would be a fun one to do the Quick Shop with. So let me tell you a little bit about the Quick Shop. Quick Shop was a service that was offered by Keepsakes for people who wanted to kit up a project and ask for the floss. So there were some forms that were in this little room off of the Annex, and you could fill out the flosses you wanted, and then they would send that form to the Keepsakes store via the Stitchy bus, which was like this really cute shuttle bus that drove back and forth between the convention center and the store all weekend. And then someone who worked at the shop would pull the threads and then send them back, and then you could pick up your order and pay for it at the Annex. I thought it was great. It kept me like from shopping at Keepsakes too long. I could stay and stitch, and I really enjoyed that and thought it was really cool. So I ended up kitting up this project. I did not get the DMCs that were in the, called for, but I did get the fancy flosses. And these are all colors by Classic Colorworks. They actually gave me 2 steamed broccoli. I did pay for the second one. I didn't notice it when I checked out. That's okay. I'll use that for something else. It's a really pretty like bottle green. So I just think these are really pretty. And I like that I could start this one like as soon as I want to start something new, because eggs, that's what that lady's saying. So I told you before I left for StitchCon that I was not going to buy any fabric, and I lied. I did buy some fabric. In fact, more on that in a minute. But this is the fabric I bought at the Annex. This is a fabric by Fiber on a Whim. This is a 36 count, and the color is called Moonstone. Now this is a color that's new this year, and it's not showing up on camera probably like as well as it would, in real life, but it's like a moonstone. It has kind of like a pinky and a greeny color to it, and I just think it's a really cool neutral. It blends really well. In fact, I'm kind of thinking about stitching this. I think these colors would look really great on this. So that might happen. I actually thought that this one would look good on this one too. The cool thing is I've got half a yard here, which is, a pretty sizable cut. And so I could stitch either or both or all. This is going to just be something that I'm going to be able to use for a lot of different things, and that's fun. So that was shopping experience 1.5. I went, to the Annex once to make a purchase, and then I went many times to browse with my friends and enable them, and that was a lot of fun. I also really enjoyed doing the Quick Shop, just for the experience of it. I thought it was kind of a neat thing to do. So I did get a chance to go to Keepsakes, the store. I did not take any photos or videos while I was there because it was quite crowded. I ended up going on Saturday, and I'll show you what I got there because I did get some things. So first off, Keepsakes is an old Victorian style 2-story house that's been converted into a shop. And so you still see like kind of the footprints of the original rooms of the home there, and I think it's really cool. It's on both floors, and I believe there is a basement because there is a Keepsakes cat. The cat's name is 310, and she was living in the basement this weekend because there were a lot of visitors to her house. But, you know, the first floor, you come in and there's like a cutting area for fabric because they've converted the kitchen into basically like a fabric and a trim room. And I'll show you what I ended up getting. So they had a whole wall of Lady Dot Creates trims. They had pom-poms, they had rickrack, they had lace. It was all arranged in like rainbow color order, and it was beautiful. I ended up getting one. I don't have a project in mind for it, but it's a pom-pom called Sequoia. It's just a beautiful kind of like spruce green, you know, blue spruce color. Not quite blue green, you know, but not, you know, full Kelly green either. I buy a lot of my pom-poms through just like Joann Fabrics or Michaels and places like that. And so I thought this was a cool color because it's a color that I use a lot in different projects. And it was nice to find pom-pom. So I'm sure that there will be a project featuring that in the future. The other thing I did was I did pick up one more pattern because I'd seen this a couple times. I saw this at the brag table at least 3 times. This is by Praiseworthy Stitches, and it's called Simple Gifts Courage. You can kind of see. It's a, I guess you could say it's like maybe 2 colors. It's not quite monochromatic, but it's pretty close. I saw this stitched with monochromatic tones, and I also saw it stitched with multiple colors on the brag tables in the stitching room. And I just liked it, you know. As I was stitching and spending time in there, my eyes just kept getting drawn to it, particularly the one that was like a monochromatic, like aqua. And I don't know if it's because it's similar to like a monochromatic sampler I've done in the past or what, but I thought that this would be a fun one to maybe use like 2 or 3 coordinating Cottage Garden Threads colors on, because I have all of those beautiful variegated flosses, and I don't use them because they're like too beautiful, and also because they're so variegated. But for small motifs, that could be a lot of fun. And so that's kind of where I'm thinking. I guess I was really into like small traditional looking motifs this time. I bought this fabric too while I was there. The fabric room was just so tempting. This is by X Jude Design. I don't have any X Jude Design fabric yet, and so I thought this is really pretty to try. This is actually, you know, very similar to the fabric in this picture. It's like a dusky mauve, like, you know, like just a hint of kind of pink, but mostly kind of brown toned. I just think it's just really gonna show off the right pattern really nicely. I got a 1/4 yard of this. This is 32 count, and so this is gonna keep me happy for a while. I love it. The last thing I got fabric-wise at Keepsakes was they had a grab bag. This grab bag was $10, and it was just filled with a lot of different offcuts of fabrics that, you know, were sizable enough to not throw away and are going to be great for like something itty bitty. There was a mix of Aida and linen in a lot of different colors. Like, this is a huge piece of Aida. I don't usually stitch on Aida, but I'm not like offended by it. You know, I like, you know, like some people are like Aida versus linen. I like both. I think that, you know, I'll probably stitch on that. This one right here, which is like just a black, I probably won't stitch on it unless I find something like retro, you know. I guess I could stitch on it. This one I think would be the most challenging one because it's just a little snippet, but it's pretty. Can you tell it's got some Edward Cullen sparkles in it? So that was fun, just to get like a little mystery bag, you know, and good for them for getting rid of all these little scrappy scraps. So that was the second experience, you know. So I shopped 2.5 times. I got one more thing that I brought home, and this was from the last night of StitchCon, Saturday night, and boy, that was a lot of fun. So one StitchCon tradition is that we collect money for like some sort of service project, and this time we are collecting money for this New Life Furniture Bank. And so what they do is they provide furniture for people who maybe, you know, need you know, beds because they don't have them for a lot of different reasons. So I think it's a really cool cause. So one way we can do that is there are raffle tickets because there are prizes. And so I'm gonna go check those out and maybe enter a couple raffles. It's been a few hours. I've been doing some editing and I have a little more to say before we wrap things up. So I just showed you a little bit of the haul, actually all of the haul, but there's one thing I didn't talk about, and this was the Saturday night raffle giveaway, you know, that I mentioned people had bought tickets for to support the furniture bank. And then there was an auction, and the auction was like nothing I've ever experienced before. So, okay, so first off, the raffle was a bunch of gift baskets. I sadly did not get any film of it or photos, but they had probably about 15 different gift baskets all lined up, and each basket was curated by a different employee who works at Keepsakes, the needlework shop, and you didn't really know exactly what was in them. But if you know, like, the employees, like Susan is the floss master, you know, who's good at colors, you know, then kind of a good idea. And each of the baskets was themed around something. So that was very fun. I did purchase some raffle tickets. I did not win. I put all of my raffle tickets in one basket. Oh, I should also mention there was a grand prize too. And the grand prize was that someone's room and travel expenses and StitchCon registration for next year would be paid for by Keepsakes. So that was like a fantastic prize, and I was so happy for the person that won it. So after all of the raffle prizes were given out, they started this auction, and the auction had a lot of really, really awesome needlework things. And keeping in mind, we had learned that one bed for this bank costs about $250 to purchase. We started thinking about, you know, bids kind of in the like bed equivalents. I am really surprised to say that at the very end of the weekend, Weekend A was able to raise $31,000 to give to this furniture bank. I have never experienced anything like this. It was crazy. People are so generous. So a lot of that was through those raffle tickets, but the auction was probably about 2/3 of that amount. So the auction started, and the first thing that they put up was actually something I won, and I was really excited. So it was a full yard of fabric. I'm gonna put a photo of it right here. And I know I didn't want to buy any fabric, but this was for a good cause, and I really liked it. It's fiber on a whim in parchment. I believe it's a 32 count, and I have a full yard of it. And what happened was they started the bidding at a little below like what you would call like the suggested retail price, and then someone immediately bid it up to the actual retail price, and then I bid it up to a little more than that, and then I waited for someone else to outbid me, and no one did. So that's okay. I don't mind paying a little over retail price because it went to a good cause, and I'm happy that I have the fabric, and I can always split it into quarter yards later if I like get sick of stitching on that particular color. But I love fiber on a whim, so I'm not unhappy. So after that though, the bids just got crazier and crazier. One of the prizes that people were bidding on was a full set of like all of the classic Colorworks colors. So I don't even know how many there are, but let's say there's like over 100. You know, I think that went for over $1,000 there. You know, someone had a whole line of silks, and I think there were like 500 colors or 600 colors in this line, and so it had like a retail, like suggested retail price of $3,000, and I know it went for over that. And so some of these bids got bigger and bigger and bigger. In fact, one of the items that was available in the Annex were these like handmade tomatoes that I took a photo because my Tablemate Lisa and Stacy actually each were able to score one. They only had like 2 dozen of them, and they were cool. They were like $40 tomatoes that are probably about the size of like a pumpkin, like a pie pumpkin. And so they had one of these tomatoes left, and they started the bidding high because at this point we were all whipped into a frenzy. And so, you know, and bidding up at like for $40, you know, retail item, the final bid ended up being $1,200. And what makes that even more astounding is the person who won the auction donated the tomato back so that they could re-auction it during Weekend B. I am just amazed. One of my very favorite things that happened during the auction was one of the items that was donated was a set of bags from Tammy Blaylock, Creative Country Girl. Now remember, she was sitting really close to me. And those are things that I think the starting bid was, again, kind of around the retail value. So it was like about a $250 prize. And when the bid got up to $1,000, I glanced over at Tammy and I could tell she was getting like overwhelmed with emotion, and it was amazing to see. And then it went over $2,000, and at this point, Barbara, the owner of Keepsakes, is like kneeling down by Tammy and kind of rubbing her back, because you just tell she was like overwhelmed with, you know, like how the bids were going. It went up to $3,000, and then I think it topped out at like $4,000. And at this point, I'm like starting to cry. You know, Tammy's definitely crying. Barbara looks like she's gonna cry. It was just amazing. I am so happy for the person who won that. I think that they're just a super generous, awesome person. I'm also really happy for Tammy, because what a compliment to your work. So Tammy, if you watch this, you know, just, you know, do your best on it. You don't have to like stress over every stitch. I would freak out if someone had paid that much money for my work. I would want it to be perfect. It's going to be perfect no matter how you do it. People are going to really love it. And think of how many bets you bought. So congratulations, Tammy. So that was the night. And then at that point, we kind of wrapped things up. You know, StitchCon did go through Sunday, but it was like, you know, people were starting to leave, and, you know, I kind of had this feeling like after that auction that things were winding up. And in fact, I did go on Sunday. I had a little hotel drama that I don't want to get too into, but I was disappointed in the lodging I was staying, and I moved to a different hotel. I did get a refund for, you know, the issue I had at my hotel. And so I came back the following morning, and I was so happy because my new hotel was better. But, you know, probably only about half of the people came. A lot of people had flights, or they had other stuff they wanted to do, or they had other travel plans. And, you know, I stayed until about lunchtime, and then it was time for me to hit the road too. And the drive back up was a lot easier. It took a lot less time. There was no construction because it was the weekend. Traffic was light and the skies were blue, and I was really happy. And when I got home, I like burst into tears because I had missed my children and I had missed my husband, and there's just no place like home. So there you have it. That is my recap of StitchCon. This is a long video, but I do want to just kind of like get into some stitchy plans, because now that StitchCon's over, I'm like, well, now what do I do? Am I done? Am I done stitching? No, I'm not done stitching. So first off, I did say I would show you the sock that I'm working on. And so here it is. So I am stitching a sock, and the pattern is called Cliff Walk, and the pattern designer is named Helen Stewart. She goes by Curious Handmade as her like designer name. And one thing I really like about Helen Stewart's patterns is that she writes down every line. She also includes a chart if you're more of a chart knitting person, but she writes down every line of her pattern, and then she puts completion percentages every, like, you know, 10 or 15 or however many rows. So when I work on this, I just try to work in 5% increments. And in fact, I just got to the part where I start knitting the heel flap back and forth. And that's what I'm going to work on tonight. So that's exciting. As far as stitchy plans go for cross stitch, I am going to work on those 4 projects. And I have a goal of working at least 2 days on each project. So that'll get me through the next week or so. And then the other thing that I have going on is I am participating in the the Arctic Animal Stitch Along by the Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery. And I don't think I got to show you, but this is the first clue. It's some bowls. Look at that one. It's like Home Aloneing. He's like, ah, because that other Arctic fox is like jumping right over him. And clue 2 just came out. And so I am going to work on stitching clue 2, you know, in the next, probably over this weekend. I don't think it'll take me too long now that I've started. So there we go. So the other thing I did was I got a cool envelope in the mail today. This is from Chantel's 141 Design Company. I don't want to show my address. And this is for my next retreat. So the next retreat I have signed up for is the 141 Pep Rally, which is in September. The guest designer this year is a designer that I'm not familiar with. It's Stitching with the Housewives. I've not stitched their stuff. I'm not familiar, but I'm looking forward to meeting them. And so what this package includes is the pre-stitching. So we are not to share the pattern, but the package includes the pattern and then the fabric to stitch the pattern, and then it includes the floss. And I will show you the floss. So there you go. So if you were thinking of like a holiday, which holiday does this remind you of? That's all I'm gonna say about that. So after the retreat, we're gonna stitch these, and then after the retreat I'll be able to show you the finished pieces, because we're going to finish the pieces at the retreat. And so that'll be a project that I work on in the next couple days too. So I also want to show you this, because the thing when I got home is I spent the first couple days just unpacking, and that's where all those videos of like all the stuff that I was showing you came from. But I also, while I was unpacking, was watching a lot of floss tubes from other people that I had met or like kind of been reminded of, like while I was at the retreat. And one person that I, was kind of on the fence about doing, but then when I met her, I thought, yeah, I gotta do this. Her name is Marjorie from Marjorie Made here on Flosstube, and she's been doing a stitch along for June, and it's called the Strawberry Moon Stitch Along. And I love strawberries, and so I was like, yeah, I'm gonna jump in on that. And so yesterday I went online and I downloaded like a strawberry pattern. I found a cute one by Tiny Modernist. And then I went through my new grab bag scraps that I got from Keepsakes, and I picked out a fabric. And I was really worried that I wasn't going to have enough room, but I did have enough room. And I finished it this morning, and here it is. So this is called Mouse's Strawberry Jam by Tiny Modernist. Look at that little mousey. I made my own floss conversion because I didn't have all of the Weeks Dye Works colors that are the called for colors. So what I did was I ended up using a lot of Color and Cotton from my old Color and Cotton subscription. And my favorite Color and Cotton was this right here. This is Papaya. So I think that's one you can buy. So there's a pretty strawberry shortcake, and then the mouse is holding the strawberry, and then there's a strawberry plant, and then the jam. Oh, the jam was Weeks Dye Works Louisiana hot sauce. And this is actually all I had left. I bought it like, I don't know, 10 years ago for a Lizzie Kate pattern. And this was like the last bit. And so that's kind of fun. I got like a good to the last drop fancy floss done too. So I finished this stitching, and I am going to finish it like, for display. I really went tight on this top margin because I was concerned that this little scrap wasn't going to be big enough, and I should have known better. I do, however, think that I can still lace this. I think I have enough I can fold over with tight margins. With the tight margins, it's about 4.5 inches square. And so I went through, and from last year's Chantel 141 Pep Rally, I had this bender board kit. So it looks like a little picket fence on the top with a heart. And then it has a little base. So kind of like that bee that I just finished. And so I'm going to do a flat fold like that, or flat finish. And then I'm going to line it with some rickrack. And I think I'm going to use that rickrack that my friend Jen just gave me, that Brick House Red. We'll see how it looks with the pattern. And then I think I'm going to paint this white. And so look for an FFO next time we chat. And that'll be kind of a fun little thing for me to get done. So I hope that you have had a fun stitching. If you met me during StitchCon, I was so overwhelmed by the experience that I hope you, stop by my channel to say hi. I really, really hope I get to do this again sometime. This was a huge, huge deal for me, both, to take the time away, and thank you, Mike, my wonderful husband, for keeping everything under control here while I was gone. And it's just such a lovely experience. And I hope that if you have, like a desire to have an experience like this, you get to do it too. So you can reach me through here. I do read every single comment that I get on YouTube. If you liked this video and you want to see more of them, you feel free to like and subscribe. It does help me out, you know, as far as the algorithm goes. I don't know how the algorithm works, so I don't know what I'm talking about. But you can also email me. I'm going to put my email in the info box below, or you can follow me on Instagram. My Instagram is my name, Sally Yoon, SALLYYOUN. My last name is Korean. My grandpa got to choose it when he moved here in the 50s, and he always chose it because he said it was like the word you, Y-O-U, plus N, but it is commonly mispronounced because in English the word noun exists. It's Yoon. So anyway, I hope you have a lovely weekend ahead of you. I hope you get a lot of stitches in. It's really been a lot of fun for me. I am very tired and I'm gonna take a nap. So until next time. Nathan's happy in the background. Okay, until next time, take care, friends. Bye-bye. Here are the weekend A people. And there I am.